Uh, okay, so since the last video, obviously we started doing beta testing, close beta testing for all the people on the wait list. Um, so while that's going on, I'm just still working on a couple of things on the website itself, and I completely forgot something. And thanks to this gentleman right here, um, yeah, I pretty much forgot rate limiting. So yeah, so I had to start that pretty much. Now, for those who don't know what rate limiting is, if you have something that's, let's say, entering data, like, creating a post, entering a message, dropping a text on live chat, these are events that could be abused in the sense like someone could potentially spam in these. They can keep on entering data. Now, end of the day, this shouldn't be a problem for some apps that are very good at scaling, but since in our case it's still a very small app, we're still at the MVP phase. We need to have good guardrails so that that doesn't happen. Rate limiting itself, the idea is that you allow users to perform set amount of operations in a set amount of time. You don't want them to go above that. Now, to do rate limiting, you need some sort of a middleware where your app would communicate with the middleware, and then that'll do the math to see uh, how much input or how much operations you're executing, and then based on that, it'll decide whether to call the database or the other microservices or not. Obviously, my app does not have a middleware, so I've taken a bit of a different approach. I am using what we call as edge functions. Think of edge functions as functions that are running on the edge of a network. In other words, they're always actively running. That's kind of the idea of an edge function. There's no almost like it's not like the way you'd say it is it's always running, basically, as in it's always ready to be executed. And the way I've done that, I will show it to you. Yep, there we go. So this is Supabase has allows you to deploy edge functions as well. Pretty much the idea is that every time a user wants to enter some sort of data, let's say he wants to let's say he wants to create a post. What you do is you package all your data into a payload. You'd call the function, in this case it's called the create post function, and then you would send it to the edge function. Now you can think of the edge function just like a normal function, just the way this is called a create post function. Now most of the operations happen inside the edge function itself. So the edge function gets the data, the payload, and it obviously passes the data, but before that it also passes the JWT token to see if there's a valid user who's sending this payload. Obviously, if the user is not valid, it'll not let you do it. Those are some other security measures. And in essence, what's happening is that it does a bunch of checks. So what we use is it checks the rate limiting if you are in an acceptable rate limit. So whether you're not spamming too much. If you're spamming too much, obviously it wouldn't let you do it. If you're not spamming, the edge function itself will call the database or the other microservices and perform any operations. So it's just a middleware. It's in other words, it is basically a middleware, but that's kind of what is happening over here. Now, as for rate limiting, the way I'm doing it is using something called Redis, and I'm just gonna let this man explain it so you'd know what it is basically.
Redis, an in-memory multi-model database famous for its sub-millisecond latency. It was created in...
Think of it like a database, but except it's on your memory instead of in your hard drive or in your secondary storage. Basically, very quick access time. That's the entire point. So what you have here is very, very fast access time and read and write speeds, but you don't have a lot of storage because it's much more expensive. And I'm using this to do rate limiting. Basically, for every user, we assign what you call as a token, a set of tokens. So the user can do this many operations. And once in a while, we keep filling that token back up. A good animation is something like this. The bucket, this is your bucket for every user. And every time you use it, the water leaks out. So every time you use an operation, you try to make a post, you try to create a post, you try to create a reply, or you try to do, maybe add classes to your database. Those all leak the water out, but at the same time, you also get tokens that are very specific rate inside it. Now, if the user, now this entire token itself is stored in Redis, so that's our, because of its quick access time, because you don't want a lot of delay. But in essence, what's basically happening is that if you use too much and your bucket goes empty, then obviously the app won't let you do anymore. So you're basically not being allowed to spam. If you use it at a decent rate, then you'll pretty much be able to use it for however long you intend to use. And that's kind of the idea how I've implemented Redis with edge functions to stop spamming. Yeah, I just wanted to give an update on that because that's something I completely forgot, and someone reminded to me on Instagram, so I've definitely pushed this right now. But yeah, still doing a little bit of work here and there, but that's pretty much it.